by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Greetings, beautiful people. My name is Simon Javan Okello. I am in Seattle, Washington, and I'm really excited to introduce my guest today, Nola Rowe, who is an incredible entrepreneur and also host of the Nola Experience podcast. Say hi to our guests, please.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here.
Excellent. Thank you again for making the time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. I'll do a proper introduction in a moment. But for now, I want to share with our viewers and our listeners across all the platforms that you're joining us from. I want to share the proverb for the day that is going to ground our conversation. Our proverb takes us all the way to Mali, and it says that one does not give a gift without a motive. In many cultures, gift giving is seen as a way of showing love, a way of showing appreciation, a way of showing respect. But that does not mean that when somebody gifts you something, it's for free. There is always something behind it. And so you should always pay attention to why somebody is gifting you something. And that's why this Malian proverb, one does not give a gift without a motive, is really important. And on a beautiful Friday like this, it's a reminder that there is always an underlying reason for somebody giving you something. If your salary is being increased, there is a reason why it's being increased. If your mom is always serving you a certain portion of food and she decides to increase it just a little, you should ask why. And so many examples can be given here. So in our conversation today, we are going to explore the meaning of gift giving, and I want to share 3 nuggets of wisdom that my team and I researched, and we feel that they are the nuggets of wisdom related to this proverb. And then we will hear from my guest, who also has a few thoughts in regards to today's proverb. So number 1, be aware of the motives of the giver. When someone gives you a gift, it is important to be aware of their motives. Are they giving the gift out of love, or are they expecting something in return? Think about that. Number 2, don't be afraid to accept gifts. It's okay to accept gifts even if you don't know that the giver has a motive. You should take it and then think about the consequences later, because you didn't ask for it sometime. And then number 3 is give gifts with no expectations. A lot of the time we give gifts and we have the motive, but we don't tell whoever we are giving the gift what our motive is. So the best way to give a gift is to do it without any expectations. Nola Rowe, what do you think about this proverb from Mali? What does it bring to your mind?
Well, I think we've gotten to a place where we don't even have free flowing energy around receiving and giving. There's so much paranoia around it at this point, and rightfully so. Like you said, sometimes people give you things and you have no idea what it is that they're looking for in return. And I recently learned something very interesting, and we probably already know this. Toddlers are probably the only people who give things without any expectations of something in return at all. Like if they're helping you around the house, if they're giving you a piece of their food or a loving gesture, they're just doing it because they're naturally selfless. And I learned that they're perhaps the only people who are 100% selfless. And that's a little bit jarring, no?
100%. I was smiling as you're speaking about that, because this Wednesday, every Wednesday, my mother-in-law takes my 3 girls for the day, and she's the only one who takes them to McDonald's. And so my second born daughter came back with a piece of hamburger. She knows I don't eat meat, but she was like, Daddy, I brought something for you, and she was so happy. She was so excited. She kept it for hours, and so she was like, this is for you. I was on a phone call, but she insisted, this is for you. So I told her, put it in the fridge for me so that I can have it later. But now I'm just reminded that this was so important to her, and she was giving it without any expectations. It's still in the fridge, so I do need to go and take it and remind her how appreciative I am, because I think that will continue encouraging that spirit of giving in her, So I just love your response. For those who are joining us, I just want to thank you for taking your time to be here with us today. Make sure you comment if you're on YouTube or Facebook. I just want to see a comment down below so that we know whether you're engaging with our conversation. And also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not done that. So I want to quickly introduce my wonderful guest today, who is Nola Rowe. And Nola is a Guyanese visionary who is also a thriving entrepreneur, a podcast host, and she runs a celebrated Guyanese restaurant in New York, So if you're in New York, you learn more about how you can get to her restaurant. You learn more about her podcast during our conversation today. And I want you to, Nola, just take a moment and take us back to a moment when you're maybe 8 years old to 12 years old. I share with my guests and my audiences this story where when I was 8 years old, my mother gave me a bicycle and asked me to help her distribute milk and bread in our neighborhood. I was so little, but I was so excited about this opportunity. And that marked the beginning of my life as an entrepreneur, as a leader in the community, because I felt that, I'm the only one amongst my peers who has a bicycle. I'm the only one amongst my peers who actually makes a little bit of money, So from time to time, my friends came with ideas, and I would actually fund their ideas out of the little money I was making, So the soccer ball, I would buy soccer balls for the soccer team, So I was really like a philanthropist from a very young age. And all of that came from this bicycle and this moment. And so this is why I love asking my guests, to take us back to a story similar to that really inspires who they are today.
I hope it's okay that my story comes from when I was about 3 years old.
That's great.
Definitely before school age. So my grandfather, he one day said, "You know what? This girl is very smart. I don't like that she's home in the house, not doing anything. She's just hanging around the house, talking all day long. I think we should put her in school." Obviously, I was too young for school, but he still took me to the local kindergarten, the kindergarten in my village. And he said, "We have to get her in school. She needs to start learning. She needs to start, being productive in the daytime." So the headmistress or the teacher obviously said, "No, she's too young." My grandfather said, "I promise you she can do the work." They told him, "Well, we don't have space. There's nowhere for her to sit." So what he did, was, as a carpenter, went home and built a desk and a chair and took me back the next day and said, "Look, we now have somewhere for her to sit." So they took me into school before I was supposed to be in school at, I think that was probably 3 years old.
That's crazy. That's crazy that you also built a chair and a desk for you. That also encourages, that already tells you that you can do that for yourself. You can do that for somebody else. And that's an incredible grandfather to have, I just love that story. And I love that the school had no option but to take you in, because you had a very determined, person that gifted you something that the school could not resist. And also, according to our proverb today, they knew exactly what his motive was. His motive was like, you're going to have this kid here whether you like it or not.
And this is definitely South America. This could not have happened in the United States because there's, governmental structures and laws and regulations, but definitely in Guyana, something like that could have happened in the 80s.
100%. Yeah, even in Kenya, where I come from, such a thing would easily happen. Such a thing would easily happen because rules are always bent to accommodate everyone. It's always about inclusivity. Here in America now, people are preaching inclusivity, but in many parts of the world where the African culture permeates society, you find that inclusivity is a part of the norm. So I love that. But I want you to think about, a situation where you've gone back to Guyana and you are meeting with some of the kids that you went to this school with, some of their kids, some of the people that look up to you that have never been to the US, and they're excited to hear from you. You're the keynote speaker, and you're in front of them, and one of them raises their hands after you finish talking and asks, tell us about what excites you the most currently in your career as an entrepreneur, as a restaurateur, and as a podcast host. Share with us one story that keeps you so excited that you never want to stop doing it.
Well, ironically, this has to be connected back to that original story of my grandfather putting me into the school, right? Because shortly after that, the teachers, the way it was, I'm not sure why it was done this way, but the girls and the boys were separated, right? The girls were on one side, the boys were on another side. And if for some reason one of the students misbehaved or did something that they weren't supposed to do, they would put them with the other kids, with the other gender, right? So I was constantly placed with the boys because I was talking all the time. I just talked all day long, just nonstop talking, and they could not get me to be quiet, right? So eventually I've learned that talking is a powerful thing because between childhood and adulthood, I've had people just tell me to be quiet. You know how it is. You talk too much. You're too loud. Sit down. Stop doing that. Why are you doing that? Why do you need to do things different? Why are you always doing something that's out of the norm? And the moment I became an adult and confirmed with myself that it's okay to speak up. It's okay to be different. It's okay to go out there and do the things that you're passionate about. I was just not listening to anybody. I just started talking, and people responded in such a positive way that I wanted to do this podcast. I've had so many people tell me, you need to do a podcast because the conversations are great, they flow well, and you are inspiring people. So I honestly have to say this. I hate to say it, but there culturally there's a lot of suppression where I'm from. People are constantly telling you how you should be, and the box that they place you in is really, really small, and we're not small people. None of us are. We're big people. So moving to the United States is really where I learned that, oh my goodness, people here, they do all types of stuff, especially in New York, and that encouragement definitely helped me to feel more comfortable with my voice, more comfortable stepping out and being different. And I noticed that back home, the culture is also changing now. I think maybe because of social media, people have more access to connecting with different cultures, connecting with different ways of doing things, and they are more encouraged to be them, to be free in away. So my opportunity to step out and be expressive and start this podcast is what makes me super excited, because I get to be that little 3-year-old girl that was in school too early talking all the time.
I love that. I love that. You know, when I think about your story from that 3-year-old to you podcasting, I can't help but also think about your restaurant, your Caribbean restaurant in New York, that is a celebrated Guyanese restaurant. Speak about that, because talking is required for customer care. It's required for customer retention. It's required for people to believe in your brand, and especially food, for people to travel. As you're saying before we went live on the show today, that there are people who travel and the first stop before they even go to their own destination is your restaurant. So give us a virtual tour. Imagine that you're walking, as you're opening the door, and the restaurant is already open. People are already enjoying the food. Share with us the smells, the sounds, and your favorite meal at the restaurant.
Yeah, when you step into the Hills restaurant, well, first of all, we are located on Church Avenue in Brooklyn, which is a high traffic area. The environment, it's very busy, bustling, a lot of Caribbean people, a lot of Guyanese, Haitians, Jamaicans, and Trinidadians. The whole Caribbean is in Brooklyn. But when you step through that door, you know you're in Guyana, because you smell the spices in the curry. You see the lo mein, and you see how it looks different from maybe a Chinese restaurant. You see bacon saltfish. You see metem G in the morning, which metem is actually, I don't know if you know this, but Guyana is made up of 6 peoples, right? And one of the groups is African. We have a lot of dishes that are African inspired. So our metem, which is a medley of ground provisions, yams, green plantains, potato, duff, which is a really big, spongy, fluffy dumpling, boiled in coconut milk and spices and seasoning. That's African inspired. And when you walk in and you see that, you know you're in Guyana, right? You know that this is home. The flavors are really what always brings people back, because I'm not just saying it to say it, guys, but the food is awesome. And that's the reason why, like you mentioned, celebrated. And if I am in the store on that particular day, the music on the TV, we usually have like YouTube rolling all day long with music. It's usually Afro beats for me. And and if my mom is there, you're going to hear gospel, right? And there's another person on staff who only plays reggae. So you're definitely going to have the aroma. You're going to be delighted by the array of dishes, colorful, hearty, a lot of vegetables and music. And my favorite part about the community and the culture is definitely the people. If you have not experienced Guyanese people, you will definitely either be shocked by their aggressiveness, by their loudness. They're very direct. And I think as an African man, you can probably relate very easily to that type of energy, because we're very outspoken, but if we need to buckle down and love and support and uplift each other, that's definitely what happens. And when you come to the Hills restaurant, that's the experience that you have.
I love it. I love it. But the most thing I love is how excited you are when you're talking about it. When you're talking about the Hills restaurant. Yeah, and now I'm salivating, and I feel like I need to let our audience members, especially those who are in the Seattle area, know about the upcoming Taste of Madaraka Festival, the first of the series this year. Actually happened in April 15th. But the second one is happening September 17th, this Sunday, and every third Sunday of the month. Every third Sunday of the month, we will be having Taste of Madaraka Festival. I have been producing Madaraka Festival for 9 years. This is the 9th year, and next year is going to be the 10-year anniversary. So we want to bring our community together around food as we prepare for the 10-year anniversary. And the hope is, because Madaraka Festival was in New York this year, the hope is that we are back in New York again. And our hope is to be able to visit the Hill restaurant and bring the Guyanese, culture and vibe into Madaraka Festival, Yeah,
Definitely. I would love that.
Excellent. So, Nolaro, talk to us about how everyone who is watching can support you, the work you do, can stay connected with you. Just speak about all those now.
So, of course, social media, it's the easiest way that you can tap in. You can go to the NolaRoExperiencePodcast.com, the NolaRo Experience Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are on social media. The podcast airs on YouTube for those who like to watch. And for those who prefer to listen, if you're driving, we're on Apple, Spotify, Google, and any audio platform that you love listening to. The Hills Restaurant, of course, like I mentioned, Church Avenue, 4706 Church Avenue in Brooklyn, New York City, Guyanese, Caribbean, a little bit of American food. And thehillsbk.com, the Hills BK on social media. It's super important. We all know this, to connect with your people and support, because it's literally the only way that we become uplifted. I have my own personal quote as well. I say, if we give each other, we will always have. So that's definitely what I encourage people to do. Come through, support whatever it is that you have going on. I will come through and support. And guess what? I'm coming to Seattle.
When are you coming to Seattle?
I will be at the dinner in November.
That's so perfect. Wow. I think you're the second person from New York coming to Seattle for this dinner in November. The other person is Shienze Fashion House. She was at New York Fashion Week. I'm just so humbled that you're coming for this one.
November. I'm excited.
Yeah, November is Ghanaian. We are going to have a well-known Ghanaian chef. His name is also actually an award-winning music producer from Ghana, but he's a chef, and not many people know that he's a chef. And one of the things with this dinner series is we bring out some of these great chefs into the limelight. And the first time he actually catered food was at Madaraka Festival last year. And after he did that, everybody was looking for him. Everybody was like, where's that chef that catered food at Madaraka Festival? And now he's becoming a household name in Seattle. He's provided food at King County, during the council meetings. He's provided food at other bigger events than Madaraka Festival. And so we are really excited for him to be the featured chef in November. And I'm really, really excited that you're going to be there yourself. So let me know how I can support and make your stay in Seattle, wonderful. And, after this, maybe we should talk about you actually coming back and being the featured chef, Anyway, thank you. Thank you.
You know what I'm super excited about? Guyana and Ghana have always been confused with each other. People everywhere forever, they did not know the difference between Guyana and Ghana. So, of course, Guyana, South America, Ghana, Africa, huge difference. But I am super excited to try food from Ghana.
Excellent, man. Thank you. Well, after the show, just let me know when you're arriving, and I want to help make your stay in Seattle as exciting as possible. And I can't wait. I'm just grateful, to our audience members who have joined us for today's show. This has really been an amazing conversation with Nolaro, who is an entrepreneur, a visionary, and also a podcast host, the host of the Nola Rowe Experience podcast, and she also runs a celebrated Guyanese restaurant in New York. Nola, I want you to speak a little bit about podcasting. I feel like podcasting is such an important skill set for business people like you, for entrepreneurs, and I feel like it gives people freedom to be able to share their ideas without waiting for the mainstream media houses to share your stories, without waiting for you to become an author and publish your book. You can literally wake up like myself, and in my home office, be able to have a conversation like this that has reached hundreds and maybe millions in the lifespan of this conversation. And so I want you to speak about why you podcast, why it's important to you, and maybe your favorite episode in the Nola Experience, in the Nola Rowe Experience podcast.
I love podcasting because it nurtures that little girl that I keep talking about, the little girl who's inquisitive, the little girl who's expressive. And this is my opportunity to release that energy from my body. Whatever it is that you have inside of you that needs to come out, let it out, because if it stays there, it weighs your body down, right? And I believe there are a lot of people who are not okay. They're probably sick because they are holding on to passions that they have not. That's funny.
Yeah,
I just read the comment.
yeah.
So
I want you to speak to it in a moment after you finish what you're saying.
So podcasting allows me therapy on a personal level. On a community level, I love being able to speak with people who, I think the direct message or the private message, that's where things truly come alive, because people will say, I love that you said that. Thank you for saying that. This is something that I'm experiencing, and you just gave me something to think about. You gave me insight. And the podcast is the reason why Nola from South America, Guyana, was able to connect with a man from Kenya who's in Seattle. I don't know if we were not on this platform, if we would have crossed paths. You know what I mean? So I think being from opposite ends of the world and the country, and being able to connect in such a beautiful way, that's another reason why I love this and why I do it.
I love that. Yeah. So if you're watching and you've been thinking about starting your own podcast, you had the values of podcasting from Nola Rowe, who has been my wonderful guest today. And Nola, I can't wait to have you back on the show again. So, if you're working on anything that you want me to, help push to the world, let me know, and I'll happily have you back again. If you want to have me on your show, also let me know. You have a studio, and I feel like one day I should visit your podcasting studio and be able to be your guest. I just feel honored that you made the time for the show today. Go ahead. I think you have something to say.
I'm honored. The honor is mine. I am delighted and super excited. So all the things goes to you.
Excellent. So is there anything that you want to share that I have not asked, that you want to speak about as we get to the end of our conversation today?
I'm just really excited about everything that we've discussed, and super excited about being in Seattle. I hope that I get an opportunity to get some footage, get some content with you as well. And I look forward to working with you and anybody else who has tuned in and heard about my podcast and the business. Please, please, please support. And if you can, please reach out and let me know how I can support you if you're working on something as well.
Excellent. So I shared a comment here from Norma Diana Stanton, who says that I know breakfast is probably done, but now I want a bake with a saltfish from the hills. Talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, the bacon sawfish is it's a very popular breakfast dish. Um, every country has their version of bread, right? Our version, the bake, which is something that's prepared throughout the Caribbean, is a round breakfast bread. It can be fried, it can be roasted, and typically what we do is we'll cut it open and stuff it with sauteed saltfish. For the people who don't eat seafood or meat, we'll stuff it with okra or pumpkin or spinach. You can get it with sausage and eggs. You can get it with corned beef, whatever your taste is. But that's one of our super popular staple breakfast dishes. And it's 9:30 here in New York, so it's definitely still available.
Nice, nice, nice. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And do you know Norma Diana Stanton, or are they just a fan of your restaurant?
I know her. That's
Uh,
my really, really good friend and one of the people who is always super supportive. And like I mentioned before, support is we can't do any of this without support, right? So I'm grateful for someone like her who's helped to raise me up.
I love that. I love giving my audiences, a shout out at the end of the show. So Norma, thank you again for joining. One thing that I just want to mention to everyone who is watching, especially on YouTube, I recently noticed that about 75% of people who join me for the AFIA podcast are subscribers of the channel. And I really want to work to bring that to 50% viewers to be subscribers. It means that our subscription rates compared to our viewership rate is just very low. So if you're watching this, the one way you can help me right now is actually to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. That is going to be something that helps grow this platform so that we can continue having other incredible guests and building this platform that continues to connect our people from across the diaspora. So thank you again, Nola, and have a beautiful weekend. And I can't wait to see you in person in November. Keep up the great work that you do.
Thank you so much. See you then.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle.